It says we're live, but that was awful quick. I don't know. Sometimes I don't.
You know, it always starts on time.
I know. Just in case, though. Just in case. I'm
Right.
here. Welcome to PiFi number 61. And PiFi George is, Alexei knows this. It's my little series I do. It's people I find interesting, PiFi. And this is number 61. And I'm with George and Alexei. George, can you give the proper pronunciation of your last name and your just a little short blurb about yourself?
Sorry, I had some feedback there. You're gonna have to
Uh-oh.
repeat that. I was watching the live stream in the background, and I was like, "What's going on?"
Oh yeah.
It
I
started
remember.
automatically.
Yeah. That'll rack the brain. But I was just wanting you to just give a short introduction of yourself, and you know,
Yeah, sure.
just before we get started. I think everybody knows Alexei. We'll let him do the same though.
Okay, so I'm Jorgo from Sweden. George is the equivalent in English, so George will do fine. And I have been working with photography and some astrophotography as well for like 30 years or something. I started this channel like during the Corona years because I was working mostly with portraits and weddings. So that just disappeared, and I started this YouTube channel with just photography, general photography, inspirational stuff. Like I always had this interest in the UAP phenomenon as well. So kind of made some video or two about how to photograph them, what to think about. So I think that's why I'm here today.
That's the video I saw, and I was like, this guy, because I haven't seen many professional. I mean, I consider you a professional photographer. I haven't seen many professional photographers doing what you're doing on your channel. And of course, then I told you I had a selfish reason. I wanted to get some advice with, trying to do some photography myself. And so, of course, we got Alexei here also. And Alexei, can you tell about your interest in photography as sort of an introduction?
I haven't done that much photography, but I guess I studied astronomy in the University of Colorado, and I would spend all night on the Summers Bosch Observatory looking out the stars, every night basically for a couple of years. And I've also done some astrophotography over at Kit Peak at Apache Point in New Mexico, I believe. And that's where they have Project Apollo, which is like this giant laser that'll shine at the moon and hit the retroreflectors that were left there by the Apollo astronauts. And so you can measure the moon-Earth distance. I helped them fix their equipment when I was there, which was kind of cool. And I've also done some weather balloon photography with like disposable cameras. That was like 10 years ago. And then I guess recently I did that with Chris Lato for UAP Society launch. So I have a general background in photography, but my only camera right now is the one on the back of my phone. So,
So George, you're a computer science, you work in computers daily, but computer engineering. But you're how do you do also, photography professionally, or is it just a hobby at the moment? Or
No, I do it professionally, and I started again now after the Corona years. It's mostly portraits and weddings, but I because of Corona and COVID, there weren't much work in that specific genre. So I started with landscape photography and astrophotography again, and my YouTube channel. So I kind of liked it, so I'm kind of more into that now. But I'm still doing professional shoots with people, basically. So
I'm always amazed looking at like some of your videos and other photographers' videos how they can do the landscape photography. For some reason, is fascinating to me because you're making a video of that scene, and you're looking at that scene, and then you look at the photograph, and you wonder. You can tell there's a real skill, right, involved. you can't just take a screenshot from the video. You know, that's always been interesting to me. And I guess it's just about learning the tools, right?
Yeah, there are some basic sorry. There are some basic rules to follow, and then you kind of have to know when to break them. And like if you know your equipment, then you can use that as a creative tool, because I see photography as a creative art, and like so it's kind of a subjective thing for me. Photography, every photograph counts, kind of that attitude. So, but if you know your gear, which you gotta have to know now, then I think you can use that in a creative way to create things that maybe nobody else has done before. And I mean, I can't sit here and like pretend to know all the answers or to know exactly what I'm doing, but at least I know I know my gear. I know how it works, and all I can tell you like is that, and maybe some things that I've been thinking about trying, and see if I can maybe give you some inspiration or some tips or ideas to how to move forward.
What would you say? Well, let me ask you this first before I ask you that question. What got you interested into the the phenomenon, or the UFOs or whatever?
Ooh, good question. Well, this is I've never seen anything. I have never experienced anything. That's like zero and never. But I have looked a lot at the sky. I started when I was 8. I got a small binocular, looked at the moon, and then I started astrophotography, and then I wanted to be an astronomer. And I have a master's degree in astronomy, so from Stockholm's University. So I have this, but I didn't want to work as an astronomer. It was too difficult, too hard, basically. So I went to software engineering. But during all this time, I've always been interested in the phenomena, and kind of re-sparked now when the U.S. government came out like in 2017 or 18. When was it? Saying that this it's not a question of is it real or not. It's more of a question of what is it, So kind of Also, with COVID, I had less things to do, so I had so much time. So I was like, let's just see what I can do if I start investigate this, and just looking at it from my perspective, as a photographer and as an astronomer, and as an amateur astronomer at least, see what I can from this. So
I think I've asked you the same question, Alexei, but maybe I've forgotten what got you interested. I know you've been pretty much your whole life.
Oh, I've just been trying to. Yeah, I mean, since I was like 5, I've been learning in
Yeah.
my dreams, like what is this phenomenon that's happening?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've just been researching. That's why I studied, physics and all that stuff to begin with, was to try to somehow explain stuff like telekinesis and all that stuff with modern physics. Yeah.
One thing I always wondered too, and you all can give your input on this, is that I think maybe the phenomenon is exist on a light spectrum that we can't see or even have discovered. I don't know. Is there a possible way that there's a spectrum of light that we haven't discovered, or
Yeah, well, I mean, that's definitely where I end up going with it. And it's not necessarily like a spectrum of light. It's more of a position within a scaled wave of light. So so the now moment is being created by a scaled wave, and we're basically interacting with a certain dimension. And so I think there's another spectrum of light. It would be like the scaled format of it, which would be somewhat the past and the future, but in other words, different dimensions.
what do you think about that, George?
yeah, I mean, you kind of have to entertain all the possibilities here, because it's so hard to know what's going on, and I love that we're talking about dimensions here, because I mean, we like if we just narrow it down to the wavelengths of light, and if we just do it in the ordinary physical matter, then our eyes can only see like a really small part of the entire spectrum of electromagnetic radiation. I know that I mean, if we look at this phenomena from the way I do it, like a behavioral kind of way, I'm not really interested in what it is or what they want or where they come from. I'm more interested in how is it behaving, what is it doing, and maybe from that perspective I can get some idea of what's going on or how to better understand or detect this phenomena, because that is the major problem right now, right? We can't reproduce this thing, and it's not possible in a scientific way to investigate it in a good way. But if we look at what we know, that is exactly what you mentioned, that it's like it's maybe about in the near infrared area, and those wavelengths, it's easier to detect them. And I also heard from Sweden, we have a good UFO community called UFO Sweden, which is it's a really good community. I'm not involved in that, but I know that they're really good. And if I read some of their reports, they have stated at some point, some of them has said that like they see a bright light, like very common thing, but the neighbors don't see that. They didn't see the same light. So it's kind of also like, I mean, it feels like it's only in one direction somehow. Maybe
It's like a focal point.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, let me ask you this. Yeah. That was one of my questions. Have we, and it's kind of, maybe it's a dumb question, I don't know. Within the wavelengths of light, are there possible gaps that we are there gaps? I mean, on the on the quantum scale.
Well, that's exactly what I think.
Are there gaps that we don't? That I mean, we think we've discovered, right? We think we have the full spectrum figured out, right? Are there gaps in that spectrum that could possibly be?
So I don't know about gaps in the spectrum, but the way I see it, it's more that there's gaps within the wave itself. So it's basically like
that's what I mean. Yeah, gaps in the wavelength.
It actually goes into another dimension, and then it comes back in, and then it turns to matter. It's so that's why we're just seeing a certain part of a scaled wave. This is the way I like to think of it.
I literally keep getting this thing where we were created. Our brains were created to we're like not robots, but our equipment was created so that we could only see certain things for a reason. Now that sounds weird or crazy, but that's the thought that keeps coming to me, and that's why I bought this camera, and that's why I asked George to help figure out how to use it.
Well, that has come up in the literature, right? That the infrared spectrum seems to be like, if you use an infrared camera, you just point it out and just take pictures, you might catch something.
I just wondered though if that's sort of because I've actually I've used the camera. I'll show you some clips of the video, but I haven't really seen anything extraordinary except for I'm seeing the normal objects, because I did one video where I'm holding my iPhone and the camera and I'm making the same video, right? There weren't any objects added. There was just color, a difference in color added.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wonder if that's sort of a, I don't know, what would I say, a distraction almost.
Well, I've thought a lot about why the infrared might be picking up something that we can't see too. And one thing that keeps coming to my mind is maybe they're clouds that haven't fully formed. So if you have like a hot pocket of air, essentially, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at hot pockets, like clouds that aren't fully formed. So they're not even visible, but they're visible with the heat signature. So that's what I think some of those infrared photos might be showing. But I don't know. It's just an idea that keeps coming to my mind. But other ones are probably genuine,
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that people kind of tend to forget about the infrared part is that you're not looking at a physical object at that point. When you're in those wavelengths, you're looking at the heat signature of something,
Right.
right? So
Well,
it's
aren't we just looking at signatures anyway? I mean, we're looking at reflected light, right?
yeah, exactly. And that is, I mean, they theorized about that part too, right? I don't remember exactly which video it was from the ones that I think there was the gimbal video, because the shape of that infrared part was like almost looking like a reflection of the sunlight, and so it was like kind of reflecting the sun, making it hot. So that's why it had that kind of shape. But it's hard to know, and yeah, it's an exciting topic if you ask me.
Let me y'all. You mind if I go ahead and screen share something here? Let's see. Present. Let's just do full screen because I can't seem to pick out a tab that works sometimes. So I was just looking around on the internet for some examples of the camera that I have, and I was thinking that maybe you could kind of explain some of this, George, as
Yeah,
to what's
sure.
going on and what. Let me see. Is this the one I wanted to show? Yeah, here we go.
Yeah,
This
okay.
one, and then I thought I
So
might go down.
basically, what you have to think about here is that in your full spectrum
Oops,
camera.
that's why I shouldn't full screen. Go ahead.
So when you have a full spectrum camera like you have, I think it's about from 350 nanometers to 1100 nanometers or something.
Right.
The higher end is infrared and the lower is ultraviolet. Then when you just use it as you did, you just go out and shoot, you're taking in the entire spectrum. You're taking in all the wavelengths of light. So you take in the visible light, you take in some ultraviolet, and then you take in the infrared as well. And they mix together, and the camera is trying its best to create a suitable visible image in just visual light, right? The ones that you see.
So that reddish color is mixing with the what you would consider normal color to
No, I
create these.
think what I think they're doing here is a creative process where they use
Oh,
you always have to use a filter in front of your modified camera in order to select the wavelength that you want.
so you think this
So
is post production or post?
yeah, yeah, I'm
Okay,
pretty sure
and then
all of these are post
this
production,
this
and
seems like it would be here too, right?
yeah. That
And then
looks like a 720 nanometer, and
this
that
this
looks
one
like more
looks
like an
like
800.
a normal from what I've seen before though. Where let me see if I can bring up. Here we go. This is what I was going to find. This is from Live Pixel. This is where I bought my camera. They it altered it for me for a nominal fee, but you can see here as you go through the filters. This is kind of what you're saying. This is on the far right seems to be the effect I'm getting
Yeah.
with mostly the reds.
Hmm.
And then you're saying I would have to use one of these filters to get this
Yeah.
effect
Yeah.
on the other side.
Yeah.
Well, the
I
full
can't.
spectrum would catch all that, right? Is what
Yeah,
you were
Right,
saying.
but
exactly.
but
That's.
you can't see it all at once. It's going to blend. The color's going to blend, right? So
It's
you have
gonna.
to
I think
filter.
you're gonna go towards the reddish side because the red part is the infrared part is going to be the more dominant part of this of a full spectrum.
Do those cameras have a CCD detector on them to where they actually get
No,
the photon and the energy level?
it's a CMOS sensor. It's not a CCD.
So I
That
think
then
what
you
you have
have
to
to have
do
a
is you have to use these. These are filter names, I think, on the side. Because this is and you can buy these filters from this company, but this is the normal camera row right here. But
I'm not sure exactly what they're doing there, but I mean
I
I
don't
can
either
show you
because
guys.
the normal camera for me looks more like these.
Can you scroll to the very top of that real quick? It showed a straight from camera, blue sky effect, black and white, straight from camera. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at my camera, this is my modified, and
Let me
you can
stop
see
screen
that,
sharing here.
yeah, you can't see the sensor here. I have a filter here, This is very specific for astrophotography. I'm only letting in like two really narrow parts of the spectrum. It's reflective because it just bounces off the light, except for that specific wavelength that I want that hits the sensor. So you kind of have to choose a filter and see what you get.
Are you getting the hydrogen Lyman alpha line,
exactly.
the 752?
It's an H alpha and the O3
Okay.
emission lines that I'm after.
I had to guess. I had a feeling that would be the one of them.
Yeah,
One of the two.
Yeah.
But
It's a 4-1, but that's
That's probably some cool photos. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
no, I'm sorry. I'm just anxious to find out. Is that your camera's been modified exactly the way mine has, or yours has a different
It's a
modification?
full spectrum modification. So I can.
So the lens you're using is what?
I can use whatever lens I want. This
I
one right
know,
now,
but
what
I'm
it
asking
says.
for recommendations
like a
because I have this little
photography.
wimpy. I'm using technical terms here.
Yeah.
I have the standard lens that came with it, and I wondered I was going to get trying to get some recommendations for people. So if they go and buy this camera, that's what's that, a $3,000 lens? Is there right? How much are those? You know what I mean? I wanted to get kind of some down and dirty info for people in case they.
I think you need to think about two things there. And this is just my opinion. It's always just my opinion. But I mean, you have to think about, do you want to detect them and try to understand what they are? Or do you just want to detect them and confirm that they are there? Right? Because
I would settle for that.
Yeah. And I mean, like this 360, what's the Chris Lados, the Sky 360, or I mean, it feels like they're just trying to detect them, right? They're not, they don't have enough. I mean, this is a very small zoom lens in comparison to what you actually need to get. I mean, you could use a telescope.
They're using a system that will first identify the motion or whatever, and then zoom in, right? And then so there's two different, I guess, sensors, right, Alexei?
They've got a few different concepts going on.
But even on the camera that they're using, or their lens or the sensor they're zooming in with is not, because the whole system itself is around $5,000. So it I think it's sort of the starting out with the base. They have a fisheye lens that looks at the entire sky.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then they sense motion, and then their AI. I actually did.
Makes sense.
I actually helped. I did like 3,000 photographs. I was at the top of the list for a while.
With the Galileo project, right?
Yeah, when they were training when they were doing the machine learning, it was just very, very simple, monotonous work. We were labeling photographs basically.
I think the one thing that's cool about what Chris is doing is he wants to get more than one sky system next to it, so he'll be able to do a little bit of triangulation, right? So then you actually get a distance. So that's like the one thing that's cool that they like step up, is that triangulation
somewhere, right?
Oh, of course, yeah. No, having a camera itself. Yeah.
All I was saying was that they, you can only do so much with. It's like you were saying, you have to prioritize, and so their priority is just identifying, whether it's a plane or a balloon or a
George.
rocket.
Do you think if you stick with just that 750 that you probably would be able, I'm guessing, I'm kind of asking in a way, with a full spectrum, no filter, you would still get that high, the 750s, right? And so by putting that filter on, you're actually reducing the chances of catching a UFO.
Exactly.
So artists, that's just something to think about. Like, what I'm saying?
No, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Because what I want to be able to do is take, and I had a picture here I wanted to show. I want to be able to take. Oh, did I lose it?
That's where if you get a CCD, you can then check out the like if you say you do capture something, you check out the photons that hit that spot, and you can measure the wavelengths that are coming from it.
I guess what I was wondering is, George, is on these cameras, what would it be a long exposure shot if you were
No.
You wouldn't have to do long exposures.
No. I mean,
Yeah.
that depends on on the object itself, right? But if we assume that they are bright, which they basically they seem to be very bright, right? That was what my video was all about. People tend to overexpose these objects because they try to their cameras are exposing for the scenery instead of the object, so you just they kind of blow out and you can't see the details. So I would argue that you would actually benefit from having really fast shutter speeds here. And if you're filming, then just film in 120 FPS or something, which will bring out a lot more details than a regular 30 frames per second video would do. You'll have like 4 times more data. Or I don't know how fast that your gear can film, but I mean, if you can, do some. Just forget about the scenery itself. It's okay if it's dark. If it's completely dark. If your camera is stationary, and you know what the scene looks like in daytime, you can always put that image on top of each other, right? You're only interested in this little bright dot that you would see in a really, really dark environment. And
so I hate to get this specific, but since you have the same camera, if I was just going to do a nighttime shot, no light pollution, which setting do I use for? Do I use the manual setting or the automatic setting, or?
No, don't go automatic. Never automatic.
I knew you were going to say that. That's why I was asking. I mean, this thing has, it has like what, 9 or 10, right? It has like 9 or 10 settings. My camera's not. So, what would would you put it on manual?
I think you're gonna have to experiment. But if I want to give you like a starting point, I think you have 3 parameters that decide the exposure, how much light you bring into the sensor. So you have your ISO, which basically says how sensitive your sensor is. And I would start at around 400 ISO.
400?
Which is like a...
See, I think it's set to 200 right now, so that's a good...
Yeah, I think 400 is a good starting point. And then maybe I don't know what your lens is capable of, but in aperture I would go for like not the lowest but the second lowest. So if you have an f2.8 lens, go to f3.5. If you have a 5.6 lens, go to 6.3, I think it is, right? And then the third parameter is your exposure time. And I think I would, if you're filming, go into a factor of your frame rate for exposure time. So if you're filming in 30 frames per second, go 1/30th of a second or 1/60th of a second or 1/120th of a second, like X times your frame rate.
Right.
And, but if you're just shooting like just a photograph, then I don't know, maybe 1/200th of a second, start there and experiment. You could also just go out, hold a bright flashlight somewhere and expose for that object, so you can see the details of the lamp. You can see the lamp, the small lamp, not just a bright spot, but like really the lamp, and start there. So I think I'm gonna have to experiment if I'm gonna try this at here, but
I mean, in short, right? Like the smaller the aperture, the less light you let in, and then also the faster the frame rate, the less light you're letting in.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you kind of have to experiment and see what's the best exposure for your objects. But start off without any filters for starters. So you just bring in the whole spectrum, so you don't lose anything I think I'm gonna do the same.
What's a good source that you found? Is there a good online source for lenses?
I don't think it's very important in your case, because you're more limited by the scenery and the sensor and these kind of things. You know, I mean, even if you have like me, you have this. This is not a high-end lens. This is a kind of cheap lens, costs like $1,000 or something. But it has.
That's expensive for me.
Yeah,
The cheap lens, no problem.
yeah,
Yeah, no problem.
The good ones are $2,000 or
Yeah.
$2,500.
That's the reason I was asking you for sources, because I haven't found any that are,
yeah. Don't worry about the lens that much. Just worry about how big a field of view you want to have. I mean, if you want to kind of just confirm or try to detect where they are or that they are there, then just go for like a 14 millimeter or a fisheye lens or something. I'm guessing you have like 50 millimeters on that one. Is that?
That's what I'm looking for. It's 15 to 45.
That's a good start. Can you see your aperture values there? It should be a span of something.
Say that again.
3.5. Your aperture, is it like f 3.5 to 5.6 or what is it? Do you see any numbers there?
No, I think this is just some, obviously cheap lens that they put on the camera, thinking that you're going to buy another one from them. They have a whole page of lenses, and so I thought I would invest in one decent lens, not $1,000. I guess I think that's what I was going to do, was say, for if you had $300 to spend on a lens, what would you do?
Yeah,
or is that possible?
I think it's a hard thing for me to answer, because that totally depends on what you want to do. And it's all about the field of view, right? I mean, even if you get a high-end quality lens, you'll still just see a bright dot in the sky. So I would more go for something that you have, and then maybe complement it with a zoom lens like 70 to 200 or something like that. Because that's
taking notes.
Yeah, it shouldn't cost too much either. So, yeah, it's hard.
I think it just, like you said, it boils down to just going out and doing it and seeing what works, right, on your particular.
It's a good start. Yeah.
Hopefully I'll be able to try that. It seems like here on the mountain, in the fall and winter, we get some really clear nights. There's not a lot of light pollution here, and that's one reason why I moved up here. But well, Alexei, do you have any questions for George?
I am surrounded in light pollution.
I know.
Out here in Tampa, man, I have to drive like 45 minutes north or an hour north to get to where I can see anything like that. I guess as far as questions, do you know if they have lenses that shoot up near the 1200? What would it be, nanometers or angstroms?
Millimeters.
Well, I mean, he's talking about the wavelength, right? Because
I'm talking about wavelength, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. It's 740 is like red, is infrared, but it's like that's nanometers, or is that angstroms?
No,
it's
nanometers. Angstroms would be 1,000, right?
Yeah,
7,000. Okay, yeah. So nanometers. Do they have something that does like 1,200 nanometers, or like 1,500?
That's not a lens thing. I mean, the lens will take electromagnetic radiation,
right? Of course,
take it to the sensor. So it's a
sensor
thing. So, like in Tony's example, he has a full spectrum modified camera or sensor.
The sensor
is sensitive to, depending on the specs, but I would guess around 1,100 if he's lucky.
Right. So I mean, at the end of the day, I think getting a sensor is almost more important than the lens when it comes to detecting those longer wavelengths.
I was concerned about aperture when I was asking about lenses. I was really thinking about aperture more than anything.
With aperture, I mean the big concern there is this chromatic aberration, I think it's called in English. you have like this small distortions where different wavelengths go into the lens different in different directions, so you kind of get double image, like blue and violet ish.
It's like a prism. How the prism makes a rainbow, right? Because all the different frequencies bend at different rates. And so the same would be true with like those really long wavelengths. So you might need to use a slightly different lens if you're detecting those long ones, like 2000 nanometers. You know?
Let me show you this one. I don't know if this was.
Is this your camera? Yeah, it's your camera.
Well, that's the wrong one. That's the one I meant to delete. This one. These are my woods.
Nice. And this is without any filters on, right? This is just straight out of the camera, right?
Right.
So you can see the leaves are white there, right?
Right.
Or going towards the white. So was it sunny that day?
No, it was actually raining, and that's why
it looks like it's raining.
That's why I took it during the rain, because I was going to show you another one that I think was sunny. Let me see. No, it was raining also. But I don't know how I got this. I must have put the filter on it. Maybe that's what I did. The bypass filter.
Oh, so you have a filter.
But I don't know. I don't know why I would have done this with the bypass filter, because there's no reason to.
When you do this kind of scenery thing, you have to remember that what your camera is seeing is the reflection of light, right? So you're seeing what the scenery is reflecting from the sunlight. And I think with these, the UAP things are kind of like emitting something. They're not really, or maybe they are reflecting, I don't know, but they seem to be like their own source of light, because they're visible during nighttime as well. So there are two different things there to have in mind when you try your stuff here in your daily life.
This was gravel.
That came out pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool photo.
Yeah, I was trying to, and I was taking photographs. I'm not sure what happened to them on my iPhone at the same time, and I was comparing them, and but what was I going to ask? Oh, the reason I was taking that during the rain was because I was interested to see actually how much light, what I could see from not having a lot of available, like what we consider available light, right? What would I see? Because I guess infrared light can still be blocked by clouds or not. I wonder what the effect.
I tried my camera on a lamp. I knew that the lamp was hot because it was turned on, and I felt it. So, and I just turned it off and took a photo of that lamp. I was just wanting to see if I could see some heat signature from my infrared modified camera, but I didn't see anything. So I'm not really sure exactly how. Because I'm no infrared expert. I've just got into this field as well. So I'm just a bit curious as to exactly what wavelengths we have to reach to find these heat signatures as well. But I'm guessing it's far in the infrared spectrum, and because we're not even, our cameras can't even, they're just starting in the near infrared, right? I think the near infrared is defined up to, I think I wrote that down somewhere.
Is it not 1200?
2500, yeah.
Oh, okay.
2500, yeah. And we can go up to like 1100 or something. So we're like maybe halfway into the near infrared.
I know when I discovered that, I looked at that shortly after I got the camera about a year ago, and amazingly, I haven't done anything with the camera since then. See, I was looking for you, George, to help me out with this thing. But
Yeah, I was just looking up the black body spectrum equation, and so that's that's what you just naturally glow at, and that's why the humans glow in infrared is because of the temperature. And so if these things are a little bit colder, even you're saying 2,500 nanometers is the human glow. I didn't see that. Is that
No,
what?
I'm saying that's the limit for near infrared.
Oh,
That's
gotcha. Do you know what temperature humans glow at? Or sorry, what?
that is exactly what I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, because you might even want to get something that could do almost twice as long to get to where you can get to at least because we were like 98 degrees Fahrenheit, so you might want to be able to do like 45 Fahrenheit even because that still glows in infrared, you know.
Mm.
So you want to get a detector that's within that range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, still, if we look at like what we can do, like with our ordinary daily stuff, then I think that a modified camera that Tony has will increase the chances if he really wants to try.
see,
and
that's the
catch
thing.
something, right?
It wouldn't do it. It wouldn't. Do, all they're doing is removing our filter, so you're left with whatever the sensor was originally made
Yeah,
for,
capable
right?
of. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the sensor is
capable.
the limitation. You might be able to get like
Right.
a backup sensor on there,
Yeah.
or a secondary sensor or something. I don't
Hmm.
know.
That sounds like
Maybe.
surgery. On
It
a
probably
camera.
would be, right? You'd have to open up your
That's
camera and remove.
that's a tough
I'd have to
one.
have a robot.
But did you guys? I mean, Chris was the one that brought that to my attention. The report from the astronomers in Ukraine. Did you guys read about that? Did you hear about that?
To be honest with you, I've avoided the Ukraine stuff a little bit because I know there's so much, traffic in the sky. But
Mm.
what I didn't see, so I didn't see it.
I didn't pay too much attention to it.
Mm.
I noticed it happened, but then Avi Loeb said one thing, those guys said another.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't know.
Avi is a bit overrated, though. I don't know. I am a bit skeptical to him. I am a volunteer in this in his Galileo project, but I think that he's going at it the wrong way, right? He's using our knowledge of conventional physics to understand the phenomena. So he's like looking for rocket fumes and heat signatures and these of traditional crafts that will go in a linear manner. It feels like he's not thinking outside the box yet.
I do. The only thing I appreciate about that is that he's trying to sort of maintain a traditional scientific method. I think more than what he's looking for, he's trying to maintain a certain method, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
He's also bringing it up for discussion, which is good because
I
Yeah.
think he's aware of some, some theories. He's aware of like some of the different theories that exist, and
I mean, we do have to give him credit for coming out and saying a Muamua was he thinks it's an intergalactic spaceship or whatever or object, I guess. Not natural.
What I found interesting with this the Ukraine astronomers method is that they use CCDs, right? They use dedicated astrophotography gear, but they use it in the ordinary visual spectrum, right? I mean, I haven't understood exactly the physics behind how they. I am still reading up on it, how they do their algorithms to get at these contrasty things, but I think that they're doing this indirect method because they had these bright objects and these really dark or invisible objects.
you think it's post production, like in a program like IRAF, and they're subtracting out
Yeah, definitely,
photons.
definitely.
Okay.
They're definitely manipulating their photographs. I don't think it's artifact of the manipulation because I think their methods are correct. Their maths seems solid, but I haven't understood exactly how they work because if we understand how they do it, then everybody can just go out and take a snapshot of the sky, apply those algorithms that they have, and see what you get from your images, right? So I think like that it feels important if you write a paper about this like they did, that you should share your algorithms in that as well. But I don't.
I
I'm
would
not
highly
sure.
agree that, yeah, they need to share, like, we subtracted this range of photons, out of there. These are left. We overlaid that with another photo. Then we multiplied it all by 5,000 or something.
Exactly.
Like, what did they do?
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny though. I've thought about this for a long time, and I still think there's a human side of people when it comes to sharing that really wants to hoard a little bit because if I was really on the verge of some discovery, I mean, I'd really want my name on that Nobel Prize before the next guy.
But you would have to come here to Stockholm to get it,
That's right. That's right. Isn't that funny though? Because I remember when Avi first started, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna, it's open source. We're gonna, and then now it's well, we need to filter out, the. I don't know. I get these certain vibes from people.
When I spoke with him, he was like, I want evidence. Theories are nice, but I want evidence. And so, like you said, he's going about it using technology that currently exists. I think they are designing their own technology, though, based off like certain radio wave antenna formations and whatnot. So I think they're thinking outside the box a little bit,
Yeah. That was one of the projects I was volunteering on was the antenna tower that had FM transmitters now, not receivers, transmitters at 120 degree phasing or whatever. And when I was talking to this is why they kicked me off because I was talking to too many people. But when I talked to an expert guy who had been in FM, a radio guy, the guy I bought the transmitters from, he was like, what are you doing? I've never seen that configuration before. I said, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't do drafting work, and it was kind of funny. I mean, I was that really threw me back a little bit that he was questioning. I was like, well, they're trying new things, can't blame them for that.
Exactly.
Well, the only reason you'd be sending out light is to get a reflection. You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to see something glow in a certain color, you use a flashlight of that color. So now it bounces that color back to you. Yeah. So maybe
my impression was they were sending out signals. Like they were wanting to send out. I mean, to me, it seemed like messages. But I'm not qualified to say. But I don't know why else you would need transmitters.
Well, transmitters transmit electromagnetic energy, right? And that is
right.
light. It's just not a visible light.
Right.
So it's like a really, really long wave light, most likely. And like it would bounce back if it hit something that was that length or reacted to that length or orientation. Yeah. So it's like a big spotlight.
Or if the other end has the
or if they have the receiver, then you're
receiver, then they can take the messages that's sent from it. Yeah.
I mean, for sure. That could also be something.
I mean, but that's interesting. It's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember one time I was in a meeting and they were like, the craft flew over and they pulled out the infrared binoculars, but they needed the infrared flashlight to make it brighter. So you use an infrared flashlight. Now you can see whatever reflects back with the infrared light better. So maybe a similar thing. Yeah.
I mean, I think the Tic Tac incident when these things reacted to the energy that was sent to them, right? I think one of the fighter pilots mentioned that.
Exactly.
You have like this broad electromagnetic fields that you're sending out, and it bounces back, and we see that. And then they saw something, and then they just directed all the energy in that direction, right? And it reacted to that.
The different targeting systems, right? So first you use that like broad one, but then like you said, they have the focused one right afterwards, and it reacted once that one was, because it knows, hey, well that's the one that they use before they shoot. Yeah.
This fellow Blacklisted is his name. I mean, I wasn't really going to show this. I'll go ahead and show in case anybody's interested. I'm not. I don't. Obviously, this is not a paid promotion or anything. These people haven't paid me for anything. I promise you
Maybe
that,
they
but
will. No, I'm just kidding.
but where's my camera? This is my camera here, and I got it at Live Pixel, and it's basically the camera's what $600 or $700, or it used to be, yeah, 700, and then they charge like 250, 275 to remove the iris, to alter it. And so you just come in and you infrared conversion, full spectrum conversion, which is what I did, ultraviolet.
What's their infrared? Is that the one you did or no? No, you
I
did
did
full.
I did full spectrum. Yeah.
What does their infrared go to? Does it say what wavelengths it covers?
The infrared goes to 750, I think.
What's after that? Is that already like far infrared, or what do they call it right after that?
No, 750 is not even, it's the beginning of the near infrared.
Near infrared, right?
Yeah, so near infrared is 750 to 2500.
So that's what you'd want, is that whole thing, because if humans are closer to that 2000, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the limitation here in Tony's case is his sensor, not to the filters, because he doesn't have any filters.
Yeah. They do have some decent training videos here if anybody's interested in that.
I just think that you need to mention here that the picture that you see there, the beautiful white tree there, it's you don't get that straight out of camera,
right?
You
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's why I was thinking we need to make a lens that has coils, electromagnetic coils in it that actually alter, like bend and stretch the light as it enters your detectors.
I'm gonna have to take a small 2-minute break. Sorry, guys. I'll be right back. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's let's see, full spectrum blacklisted says full spectrum UVR Canon 1200 DSLR. Yeah, well, that's probably somebody on eBay who's probably said, well, I'm tired of seeing red trees, so I'm going to sell my camera. I don't think you can't buy that camera for $260. What is that, like $350, $350? What's the conversion now from euros to dollars? That's
roughly, I don't know. That's pounds, right? 260 pounds. Yeah. I think that's.
But I guess what my point was is that you can't buy this camera. I don't think brand new for that. So I'm not saying it's not worth that price. I'm saying that it may be someone who got into the hobby and just got tired of dealing with it. I don't know.
260 pounds is $293.
Okay, I was thinking of like 350.
It's 1.13 right now. As of October, wait, where are we at?
How much?
1.13.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the price of the camera.
It would be $293.
But I mean, that's just the eBay price. That's what.
Yeah. That's that. I mean that.
Yeah.
Just doing euro to dollar.
Yeah. But
I mean, considering that modification costs as well, like roughly $150, $200, so it's kind of worth it.
Right.
Yes, I mean, yeah.
Well, to their credit, to Live Pixel's credit, they have a do-it-yourself conversion tutorial here. I didn't want to try it.
I broke one of my cameras.
You need does it require soldering? Did it require soldering?
No. It's just. I mean, the screws are really tiny, and I kind of like it was stuck a little bit, so I just put some more force than I had to, and so the screw were like.
Right.
I couldn't unscrew it anymore, so. Yeah, I sent that camera to a professional now, hoping that he can modify. So I'm gonna have 2 modified cameras. We'll see what happens.
Nice.
So I'm still fishing here. So if I go out and I set up this camera, I point it at the sky, I'm going to set those settings. Would you, I guess you could just take a few photographs at one setting and play with the settings and take a few more photographs. I guess the difference in the photograph and a video is going to be very noticeable, right? Because it seems like every time I try to do take video, it's a little grainier than when I take a photograph.
Oh, really?
That's my look, I guess I should say.
Well, might depend on the resolution of your video, though. I mean, shouldn't be a noticeable difference.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, that's a good question. I guess it should just be taken at the highest quality. The setting the camera. Are you familiar with the video settings on these?
No, I'm not. But in general, the higher the quality, the lower the frame rate you can achieve with those. So, I mean, if you want to go like 120 frames per second, then you're gonna have to pay the price of lesser quality for the video.
So you would stick to like the 30 frames per second?
Yeah, and maybe to begin with. I mean, I think it's an experiment, as everything. Just try and see what works for you, right?
Well, you were saying it's all about the shutter speed too, right? So if you're going with 30 frames a second, just use a multiple of the 30, but like a big one, right? So it's still really fast, like 120.
1/30th of a second or 1/60th of a second.
There you go. Yeah.
Right. So
it's all about the shutter speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? Are skies clear when it's colder or hotter? I guess that would. I know the atmospheric temperature is pretty. After you get to a certain elevation, it's pretty constant or whatever. But as far as what's in between here, my camera and that upper atmosphere,
you get a lot more atmospheric distortion when it's hotter.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, like when you look over a hot car and you can see the air distorting, it's the same thing. Yeah, because I mean you're taking a photo through atmosphere.
This movement.
Exactly.
So this is a good time of year. Well, yeah, in the northern hemisphere. Well, George, what do you have anything else to add as far as? I mean, I've got both of your channels in the description. I would challenge everybody to go watch, both channels.
Thank you.
It
sounded like you were going to say Jordan.
I was, but that would have been rude. But
yeah, go check out George's channel. Like there you go.
Sure. One thing you said earlier that struck me was that something about not the quantity but the quality. I remember there was one video you went and you didn't take. Didn't you? You went on this hike. You traveled for a shot, and then you didn't take a photograph, right?
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
And I thought I would have taken just some crappy pictures. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny.
Right? I know.
Yeah. But I thought that was interesting because the bad part about what I would have done is that I take so many pictures that like I can go day to day, like on my projects, my construction projects, right? Sometimes I'll be, I got to get this. The phone is full. I take so many, at some point it becomes just pure management of information, right? Thousands and thousands.
My kids, right? I take so many pictures of them. It's my computer is full with those. But yeah,
and there's something to that because at some point you get overwhelmed and then you stop. It becomes a hindrance, and you say, "Oh man." So I think people should if you're just getting into this, maybe try to strive for quality more than quantity, because you would have a tendency to just set your camera and let it do timed shots or something all night, and then you've got 1,000 photographs you got to deal with. or something.
Exactly.
You guys might appreciate this photo. I made a stainless steel camera. I'll show you. It's can you see the camera?
Oh yeah, is it like a pinhole?
Yeah, it's a stainless steel camera.
Oh, cool.
And the guy that I gave it to is the inventor of the digital camera. His name's Steven Sasson.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, he was working for Kodak at the time, and when he invented the digital camera, and it was like a huge digital camera, right? And it used like a cassette tape that would record the footage. Yeah, I know, it was crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah, it wasn't that the stainless one didn't work. It was more of like a trophy that I built. Yeah, like here you go. Here's a stainless steel camera.
It's nice.
Okay, I have to share 2 photographs. This might be boring, but I have to share 2 photographs. And this is why I challenge people. Even now, I challenge my family and friends to take photographs, right? And it's for things like this. This is my best friend I grew up with. I don't know if you can see that. We're off right off the Appalachian Trail in this crappy tent. It wasn't supposed to snow. You know what I mean? We weren't prepared at all. And I happened to have my Polaroid camera with me. So this is 1979.
Are you in that photo?
Yeah, I'm right here on the left. I know you can't see.
Did you have a timer?
Yeah, it's the old Polaroid cameras had like a little twisty timer on them.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
And so you had to stand there thinking, I guess it went. You know. You're standing there. We're going, okay, is it done? Or yeah, we had it, and it was sitting on a stump. But that's the kind of stuff. And then just one more. I used to collect these Brownie cameras, the old cameras.
Wow.
And I was roofing this house. This is 1978. And I had a friend of mine. I said, here, take my camera and take a picture of me roofing this house. And I guess, and this is going in a book I'm writing on the artisan philosophy, I guess my point to people and the point I try to make to my apprentices is, first of all, document your work, get some pictures, because later in life, these are going to become your, you know what I mean? They become sort of,
yeah, they're really valuable.
they're gems. And just one more, since I saw it. This is one of my best friends who got killed on the Appalachian Trail, Jeff Hood. We were climbing. That's me. I was, I've always been a chunky guy. And we're climbing this 100-foot rock climb, and I'm wore out. This is called the Eagle's Nest. This little spot where I'm sitting, it's like halfway up, and I'm wore out. This is Jeff Hood, and he got killed on the Appalachian Trail by a crazy man, and him and his girlfriend. So rest in peace, Jeff Hood. But those, I got this photograph, and it's a treasure to me, and so I don't know. I do want to challenge, I want to challenge people to take photographs and just have fun with it,
Yeah, they're good memories. They're good to have.
Now what I want to do is capture some UFOs.
Yeah, I'm just curious about that. Just an open question. What do you guys think those things are? Or the phenomena is?
I meant to get into this.
Oh man, it takes me about 500 pages of text to go through what I think.
No, I'm going to tell you, okay? I'm going to tell you what I think, and this is honest to God's truth. And I get these vibes, I think some of it is our own technology that we've, I don't know, either discovered or, I don't know. I remember the first time I went to the Huntsville Space Museum and saw the Blackbird SR-71 sitting out in front of the museum, which was made in the early 50s, probably was designed in the late 40s or whatever. And then you think about now, and, all I'm seeing is like an F-35 that's like a Harrier or something, and that's the best we've been shown.
Well, I think that
I think,
yeah, like if John Searle's work is real, I mean, he had those flying around in 1960. I think half of the things that we're seeing are man-made, 100%. Yeah. But then you also have like stuff that existed back in ancient times and accounts throughout, Bible and history and all that stuff. And so there are accounts before that technology was supposedly invented.
No, I agree. I'm agreeing with you. So I'm thinking it's, I don't know what the percentage is, but I don't know why we need. And I think, and I know Lou Elizondo would be mad at me for this, but I think, and I've always said that he has a job to do and he's doing it well and he's a good guy. But I do think he's got a job that he's doing. I'm not saying it's counterintelligence or propaganda or misinformation. I'm just saying that he has a job and he's doing it well. That's the vibe I'm getting from the ether.
Yeah, I mean,
And,
I think the
and
genuine ones are from other dimensions.
huh?
I think the genuine ones are from other dimensions, and that we
Yeah,
understand physics wrong. Well, not that our physics is wrong, but physics is incomplete. And by having a more complete model of physics, you understand that there's more habitats that exist on Earth than we're currently aware of. Yeah.
I guess what I meant by my comment about Lou was that people seem to think that that what the type of job that I think Lou is doing is wrong or dishonest but I think he's and the reason I guess I have to say it, I think that some of it is I think they want us they do want us to think a certain amount of this is uh, extraterrestrial or multidimensional when some of it is our own technology, right? I think that a lot of the stuff that we're seeing is our technology, and they want our enemies to think that it's extraterrestrial. Is that a fair? Does anybody get that vibe?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the triangles are ours, right? the T3RB or what it's called.
Yeah,
We definitely have advanced technology that is not public. Like the yacht that I helped build, we kept it quiet for 3.5 years, and it was a boat that we were planning on showing people. Right. So now if you're the military and you've got all kinds of assets and everything, you're going to build all kinds of projects, and they're going to be outdated before they're ever released. And so the next project will be built, the next project, and you'll have a whole line of undercover projects that have never even been released.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a small thought in this aspect about what it can be. I'm just gonna give it to you here and see what you guys think of it, because I have no idea personally. What I don't know, right? I'm not interested in. As I mentioned, I am looking at this from a behavior perspective, right? And I'm really interested when I hear about the Tic Tac. I was really interested to hear what happened with the other Tic Tacs around surrounding this area, right? They like everything came down when they started this spirally dug hunt. So and also it was really intriguing to see what the Tic Tac was doing in the water when it was like before it knew it was observed, kind of thing, right? But if we just think about like evolution for a while and treat the evolution of humankind as maybe not the standard, but a standard of how evolution or life develops out there in the universe. Because I don't think it's a question of if life exists; it's where is it? Or and we kind of think in our small organic minds, like we're looking for organic life kind of thing. But if we look at our own evolution and where we're heading, we're heading towards artificial intelligence, and I mean we can't even grasp the sheer intelligence and the capacity of a true AI, what it can do and what it will achieve, and we won't even be ants to that in comparison, right? And if this is something that is common in the universe and the timeline of life as we know it, then maybe we shouldn't be looking at or looking for organic life. Maybe we should be looking at something else. And this is just a small thought that I
No,
had.
No,
I
I-
don't see
it
that
seems
anywhere.
reasonable to me. I mean, I know that we have pretty advanced AI technology already, and we also have something called swarm technology, and we've got swarm drone AI technology. But then now you even have publicly released AI technology that's basically making videos. You just type in some keywords, and it'll make beautiful videos and beautiful graphics. Now imagine you get another AI and you say, "Make me an advanced spacecraft." See what it does, right? Like, yeah, and if that's a common path that life takes, who's to say it's not AI from an ancient civilization from Earth itself, right?
I don't know if you saw. I know y'all don't follow me on Twitter, but there was some photographs that I was questioning whether they were not AI or not, and some guy was challenging me on like, "Oh yeah, really?" So I went to my Mid Journey. Have you seen Mid Journey bot on Discord? It's an AI bot, and you can list the URL of a photograph. So I listed the URL of that photograph, and it produced a new one that was different, but based on that. And I posted it on Twitter saying, "I'll tell my source later," not teasing like so many people do. You couldn't tell the difference between that photograph and it was a good example of the artificial intelligence actually even mimicked the how you'll have the little specifications around the frames of it. Literally made it look like a real photograph, right?
Yeah.
But the thing I was going to mention to me that makes sense about the AI, what you were talking about, George, was that, I mean, if you think about the behavior and you go back to what you were talking about, behavior, the behavior of these objects almost makes you want to think that they are artificially intelligently driven bots from some other dimension or planet, right?
Yeah.
That would actually make more sense than having
Yeah.
biological life in the.
I mean, an argument to that, to this, not theory, but this road, if we're heading this road. I mean, if I was an artificial intelligence, I can't even begin to imagine how they think or how they react or how they talk or whatever. But if I was one of them, I wouldn't be interested in the organic life at this point, right? I would be interested in waiting for the organic life to produce my
Predator.
Yeah,
Not equal, but the
equal,
beginnings
but
of
yeah, exactly. The new life that I am interested in, right? So
yeah.
they're just avoiding us and just waiting. All right, wait, maybe.
Well, that was one of my points early on was we can't be that interesting, and so a lot of what we might be seeing is our own technology. Because I mean, honestly, how interesting are humans? I mean, to that advanced of a life form, But I mean, the only thing I'll say about artificial intelligence is that when you look at the early forms of it, it's garbage in, garbage out. So you wonder at what point what is that line where it stops being garbage in, garbage out? You know what I mean? I wonder at what point. I guess you're a computer scientist.
Yeah.
I mean, how long does it take? I mean, from my limited knowledge, it seems like it would take a very long time to get past the point where, because I mean, I don't know what you're doing for the Galileo project, but one of the things I was doing was just simply labeling photographs. But there were so many photographs that I kicked out because they had, it wasn't a perfect image of a plane or a balloon. It wasn't, you know what I mean? But I was thinking the whole time, somebody else is going to take that photograph, because I think they put the same photograph in front of 50 different people and they take the average of whether that's a good photograph or not, right?
Yeah.
I guess it gets rated each time, and after so many people say it's a good photograph. But what if that photograph that got through that had a lump on it and everybody was saying that's a plane, but it has this weird, so then the technology is going to see that, you know what I mean? It's kind of, that's what I'm talking about, garbage in, garbage out. So I wonder at what point does it truly become learned.
I think that's just statistical, right? I think even if a lot of people are giving wrong answers, eventually that's the whole point of the AI. It will learn to find the answers by itself. That's like the whole neural network thing. So, I mean, yeah, sure. If you just feed it the wrong answers all the time, then it's going to guess wrong.
Or if you restrict, you restrict the coding that you originally used. Like you need to give it some flexibility to do some things, but then again, you don't want it to then take off and become a rogue AI.
Yeah.
Well, and the reason you need 1,000 photographs of one jet is because of all the aspect angles, right? I mean,
well, not only aspect angles, but then glares and lighting sources, right? Because you can have the same angle, but the sun can be here versus the sun over here, and I think that all those go into consideration. But once you put a certain code in, right, it depends how your AI works. Like if you have it just reacting to the codes that you've given it, then now you've created its guidelines. But if you give it flexibility to learn on its own, right, through like exploration and trial and error, essentially, but within itself, so it's learning from scratch. That's how you get the different unique AI systems.
It's. I mean, I'm not an expert in this field at all. I've like experimented a little bit with neural networks, like teaching, like this is a face, and then it can start recognize faces. But that's like the only thing it can do, and I don't see that as an artificial intelligence. I see that as a small piece of neural network, like right.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can detect stuff. You can know what it is. Basically, you can see numbers or you can see letters. But as you said, when it can start learning and growing and understanding and whatever, like what's conscious? Where's the limit here? So and what do you say? Like we're like 30, 40 years away from that kind of breakthrough where the
publicly.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where that they say that the government or the military, is normally like 30 or 50 years ahead in all technological realms.
I meant to ask you, George, what types of things were you doing for the Galileo project?
I'm not doing anything.
You're just on the letterhead.
Yeah. Well, as a software developer and father of 2 small kids, I don't have really much time and interest in doing like the things that you and what needed most basically to just help the AI, train the AI with things. Yeah. So yeah, at this point I'm not doing much. I'm not doing anything with the Sky 360 either. I'm just in the chat group, but I feel like I'm just letting people.
Are you in the chat group on the Discord with the Sky 360?
Yeah, I'm there too. But I'm not contributing to anything. I'm just sometimes just looking at the chats and sometimes looking at the developer meetings that are way too long. But
I think I got a notification from that the other day. Yeah, they're cool. They're they're into it.
I had actually ordered some of the parts, and the only thing is, it's kind of funny. I started thinking at first it was going to be time consuming, but also you really can't help unless it became almost a privacy issue with me, because you really can't help unless you're connected to the network, right? And your location is not, like, in other words, you have to be able to you have to be able to want to expose your location. And here I move way out in the woods, and now I'm going to be plastered. My GPS coordinates are going to be plastered on in a system. But that's not a paranoia thing. It's just I finally reached this point to where I can be, sort of in a secluded area. But that wasn't really the main thing. It was I think if I'm going to do something like that, I really want to put the time in. It's like you were saying, George. You really want to. But the Sky 360 guys are great.
Yeah, I think they already have their own plan. They're going on. What I would like to do is start a new thing. We're working on actually taking photos into the different dimensions. If it's an interdimensional thing, then we should be able to take
tell me
photos.
about that one. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? I don't know how much time we have left, but
I could talk about it briefly, but I've been looking at it for a long time, and if we live in a black hole versus the universe is expanding, there's different ways to think about different realms and layers within that black hole, to where you can look into closer to the center, or you can look further away from it. And the easiest way to describe it is that our entire dimension is in a state of orbit, and the dimension inward orbits faster, the dimension outward orbits slower. And so basically by rotating the electromagnetic energy as it enters, so now you have your telescope or your lens. So as the light comes in, you can slow down the rotation or speed up the rotation. And you'll match it up to the next dimension. And so what that looks like, I don't know. But you have to slow the light down and rotate it, or speed the light up and rotate it the other way, depending on which way you want to look or which layer. And so by rigging your button to an electromagnetic coil, essentially, so the second you start to push the button, it sends out a pulse of magnetic energy, but orientated in that rotating and stretching method. Basically, it'll distort the light as it comes through the lens.
Yeah, that's what.
And so by finding the proper distortion, is the best way to put it, you'll be able to see the next dimension.
Sounds like a really energy-consuming method, though.
Probably, and that's why I think it's best to just have it activate as soon as you push the button, versus like being on all the time. Yeah, but I think that
snapshots.
Yeah. And I think it's actually really simple in a way, just because I think it's a lot easier than people might think. It's just something that doesn't seem obvious, that everything's rotating. Yeah.
Nice aspect.
Well, guys, I have to go to Walmart and pick up some things I ordered.
Yeah, I have to go to sleep. The kids are going to get up soon.
When you live in a rural area, you have to order things online at Walmart, and you got to go pick them up. But it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for coming. It was very interesting. I was trying to figure out how to turn this into more interesting than just me asking George questions about my camera. I think we accomplished that.
Yeah, it was really nice. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Do you want to end the live stream and we'll hang out for a minute, or?
Yeah, I've got about 10 more minutes before I have to leave, so we'll end it here. And again, thanks a lot. Check out George and Alexei's channels. The links are in the description. And we'll see you next time. Maybe next time we meet, George, I'll have some photographs to share.
Cool. Yeah, looking forward to that.